think, I mean, I'm sure that there were so many lessons he gave you, but in all the time that you were working with him intimately, what was one lesson that really stands out to you that you use today when you're mentoring people?
The most powerful moment, difficult, the most powerful moment was before he died. I said, I know I've said it before, but I have to say it again. I want to thank you for saving my life. And he said, please understand that the first day that I saw you and I looked into your eyes, your story was already told. So I was just following orders, meaning spiritual.
Mhm.
And that was an important lesson because it told me that everything that I do, I mean, I was spared. So everything that I do in this life, every single day, it's because I'm here as a messenger to deliver messages and do what I'm supposed to do. I was at a hospital seeing a little boy with cancer. And this little boy said to me, Mr. Negron, if I do one good thing a day, do you think God's gonna let me go to heaven? And that was a little boy who knew he was gonna die. And that was an incredible lesson for me because it
Mhm.
all added into what I was living.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when that little boy died, because I did a book based on that little boy, and when that little boy died, it was it was painful, but I was able to accept because I knew that was the aspect of what God had situated.
Right. Right. That's very powerful. I mean, I totally understand that. And is that the book that you did, Henry and Me?
That was based somewhat on Henry and Me, but the book was called The Boy of Steel.
Mm.
That was
Wow.
my first book. It was my first bestseller, and
Wow.
and the movie Henry and Me is based on that book.
Is based on that. Okay. I just want to go back 1 minute to that first day that this all happened. So you get caught, and that night you find yourself as a bat boy for the Yankees. Did you think that that was going to be you paying off that debt and that was it and you'd never see them again? I mean, how did you come back to the stadium the next day? And the next day, how'd you know?
No, after we were playing. This was June 29th of 1973. I remember the day distinctly, and we were playing the Cleveland Indians.
Mhm.
Okay, and that was a big deal for George Steinbrenner because the year before he tried to buy the Cleveland Indians and he was denied. Now think about it. He buys the Cleveland Indians. I'm not there that night.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? We beat the Cleveland Indians that night. So he was really happy. He came into the locker room and he was acting like we had just won a championship. He was going from player to player.
Mhm.
And then he came over to me and I was like already changing my clothes. And he was saying, did you enjoy your job? I said, wow, I can't believe it. And he says, you want to keep it? And I said, I would love to keep it. And he said, then you're going to tell your friends. He said, I don't want to know who they are because I know how it works in the streets. So I don't want to get you into trouble. He says, but I want for you to talk to your friends and they better not mark up my stadium again because then if they do, you're out of here.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? And so I said, deal. And
amazing.
and that's how that happened. And my my friends respected the aspect of what had happened to me
Right. Right.
because I never felt a jealousy or anything like that from them. And my siblings were like, to to my siblings, I was Elvis Presley. You know, that's how they always were, and I would bring them to the park and stuff like that. We once, one of them was at the time had gotten into some situations where he was selling drugs, and I told Mr. Steinbrenner, and he said, "Go talk to him, bring him to the park, and let's put him to work."
Mhm.
And by the time I got to him, he had been shot and killed,
Oh, wow.
and it was a very sad thing. And so, Mr. Steinbrenner, like, he had me bringing a couple of my siblings and friends and gave them all jobs.
Oh, wow. Wow. What a powerful story, and it's so evident in how emotional you are to hear how much Mr. Steinbrenner meant to you and helped change the course of your life and helped show you your worth. I mean, it's so evident in everything you've done ever since, too. Um, what do you think the biggest legacy of him do you miss? Like, what is it that you really long for now that he's gone?
His leadership. I miss being at the ballpark and there was one boss. Everybody knew who the boss was. When he would pull into the parking lot, all over the park through the microphones, you would hear, "The Eagle has landed. The Eagle has landed." Okay? And that Eagle, he was not afraid to get his hands dirty in anything. No job was too big, no job was too small. He was not afraid to pick up a broom. He was not afraid to pick up a paper cup on the ground. Nothing. Okay? And these are the lessons that he taught me. I mean, now there today there are a lot of chiefs, okay? In those days there was one chief.
Yeah.
Period. That's all.
Can you tell me about the evolution then of your job? You started as a bat boy. You've been there how many years now with the Yankees
This is my
organization?
52nd.
52nd year. Wow. So what have you done in the gamut of all the time that you've been there?
I started as a bat boy. 2 years later, I was drafted in the second round by the Pittsburgh Pirates.
No way.
And I ended up playing professional baseball for a minute. And then when I proved to America that I was a horseshit hitter, I was back to working with the Yankees again. Mr. Steinbrenner brought me back, and I was an assistant in the locker room. I picked up underwears and whatever, and helped in the locker room. I was the go-between Mr. Steinbrenner and the players.
Mhm.
I was involved in the Billy Martin, Reggie Jackson, Thurman Munson rivalry.
Mhm.
I put together. I helped put peace in that locker room. I had an incredible love for my players, for the players. They were my players. We were all like brothers in those days, and uh, uh, and I could honestly say that I was their little brother,
Mm.
and there was nothing that I wouldn't do for any of them, and they knew it, and I was there for them, and I would fight for them, and I would protect them. And there was a fight someplace, I'm throwing punches too. And one time we were in Baltimore, I got into a fight in the bar there, and I went up to my room, and then one of the players came out knocking on the door, and he says, "Come on, we got to go back and beat the shit out of those guys because we didn't. I didn't like the way this ended, you know." So
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
that's how we were, and it was just it's been a blessing. And then from there, I worked. I became a special assistant to George Steinbrenner, and
Mhm.
I was essentially his eyes and ears from the standpoint of advising him. I think we could do this, do that. And I'll give you a classic example. In 1995, Dwight Gooden and Darryl Strawberry had been suspended for drugs. And so they were out, they weren't working. And when their suspensions was going to come up, nobody wanted to sign them.
Mhm.
And I went to Mr. Steinbrenner and I said, boss, we should sign Daryl and Doc. And everybody in the organization said, no, 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 no. Why should we sign them? And Mr. Steinbrenner embarrassingly said, because Ray Negron thinks we should. And we signed Daryl. He hit 3 home runs in a game. We
Wow.
signed Doc. He pitched a no-hitter.
Mhm.
And we were world champions that year. And I have a couple of World Series rings, but the only one that I wear is that year's ring because of
Wow.
what they accomplished. I wear them in their honor and the fact that Mr. Steinbrenner believed in me that much.